Hi there and welcome to Truth Bombs and Tea. Today we are looking at the topic of overcoming anxiety. It's a big topic because most of us, if not all of us, have experienced anxiety to a greater or a lesser degree at some point in our lives. So if you're new here, welcome. My name is Tina Binden. I am the host of Truth Bombs and Tea and also the founder. So, today I'm going to share with you 7 highly effective, science backed, proven techniques to help you with anxiety. And I'm going to present them to you so that you can then tweak it, cherry pick it, and personalize a toolkit that works for you. And the great news is that all 7 of these, as I said, are proven to reduce and help you to manage anxiety. So let's dive in. Anxiety is very, very common in our society today. In fact, anxiety is increasing in all demographics. So, right now, as you are watching or listening to this, 3.4 million people in Australia have an anxiety disorder. And they're just the people that are reporting or presenting to the doctor or the specialist. Okay. So that figure is probably a lot higher. But if we take that figure and we kind of extrapolate that out to other first world nations, that means that 1 in 10 people are currently experiencing anxiety to a degree that it is either like affecting or debilitating their life. And that's a lot of people. And as I said, that number's probably on the smaller side. So, what do we do about it? Well, the first thing I wanted to chat to you about was there's a misnomer that anxiety is just like you worry all the time. And whilst worry is a small subset of anxiety, it is not anxiety. So, worry is things like maybe sleeping in, missing your alarm, and then missing the bus for work, right? So it's kind of like a low grade concern, an everyday thing. And once it's either proven or disproven, that worry goes away. Anxiety is not like that. Anxiety is an highly overreactive brain. It's extreme thoughts. It's usually catastrophizing, and it presents and it can be felt with things like increased and accelerated heart rate, sweaty palms, like a dry mouth, racing thoughts, even dizziness. So everybody can experience different things, but there is a visceral and a physical reaction to anxiety. And it is something that isn't fleeting, like, oh, great, I caught the bus, worry disappears. Anxiety is not like that. Okay. It's usually present for most, if not all of the time. And everything, as we know, and we've discussed here on the program before, is on a spectrum. Okay. So some people have what I term and what the studies and research that I've done is called high functioning anxiety. So HFA. That means you kind of feel anxiety all the time, but to a manageable degree. And it kind of falls into the camp of hypervigilance. So you kind of want to be ahead of the game. And usually you're quite successful, you're driven, but you kind of carry that heightened sense with you all the time. So that's high functioning anxiety. All the way through to really crippling anxiety, where you can't go out or you are in a state of fear all the time. Okay, so that's the difference between anxiety and just worry. Some people tend to say, oh, you're a worrywart, right? Which is, and if you haven't heard that term before because you're watching from another country, worrywart just means that you worry a lot. Okay, even though it's not a very nicely descriptive term. And, chronic worrying can definitely turn into anxiety. But hopefully you see that differentiation that I just made. So what happens then if you do have anxiety? Well, there's 7 tools that I want to share with you that can really, really help you to reduce it and manage it. Okay. I don't like to say eliminate, because I think in today's modern society, you kind of carry around a small low grade anxiety. And that in of itself isn't, too troublesome. It's only when it becomes negatively impacting or even debilitating. So let's start with these 7 tools. The first tool is cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT. So, cognitive behavioral therapy is exactly what it says, even though it's kind of a highfalutin term, and that is cognition. So, it's looking at the brain, what thoughts you're thinking that actually produce the anxiety and the emotions of fear and worry and any other emotions that come to the surface. So it's examining the thoughts that trigger the anxiety and then challenging those thoughts. So, for example, if you are worried about going out in public, maybe your anxiety has turned into like agoraphobia, which is a fear of the outside world and the surroundings. Cognitive behavioral therapy will challenge that, because you might think, if I go outside, something terrible is going to happen. So, cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, will say, well, what do you think is going to happen? And you might say, well, I don't know. I just know something bad's going to happen. And so it challenges that to see whether that's actually true or probable. Okay. So it takes those swirling thoughts that are catastrophizing and building up huge amounts of fear and worry, and it picks apart each of those thoughts, and then it challenges them. So it takes it out of your head and onto paper, and it kind of puts you in the role of detective. So it empowers you to look at that thought and say, is that really true? Like, can I prove that as a fact? And as soon as you realize that that's not true, and it's kind of like a story that you've made up, it starts to reduce a bit of the anxiety. Then you have a look at whether it's probable or not. So, continuing with this story of fear of going outside, if you say, oh, I might get knocked over by a car, if I go outside. These are sort of fictitious and probably not very appropriate, but, stay with me here. Then they will look at that and say, well, how probable is it that you're going to get knocked over by a car? And if you are not walking on the road, if you are not running after a ball, if you are not, intending to scooter across the highway, then that probability is very minimal. Okay. One can't say that there's 100% things that aren't going to happen, but the probabilities are probably 99% that you're not going to get knocked over by a car. So CBT is really good at pinpointing and identifying what's actually triggering your anxiety, and then being able to challenge it through evidence and probability. Okay, highly, highly effective. And the success rates for reducing anxiety down to a level where you can manage it is really, really high. The second tool is breathing exercises. And don't click off the video, don't roll your eyes. The studies show that the body-mind connection is really intertwined. Okay. In today's society, it's all about the head, like what you think and all of that sort of stuff. But the mind affects the body and the body affects the mind. So have a think about it this way. If you've ever had a panic attack, thankfully I haven't, but I have experienced anxiety before at high levels. Your body tends to react, right? So these thoughts are triggering these feelings, and then the feelings trigger a visceral experience. So going back to what I said before, your heart starts to race, you get a dry mouth, you might get sweaty palms, you might feel lightheaded, okay? And then, an impending feeling of doom that something terrible is going to happen. So the mind just affected the body. So it only makes sense that the body can then influence the mind. So there's many breathing techniques, and there are far more people that are more expert at that than I. But I would like to share with you one super simple one that I have used to great effect in my life at various times, and it's called square breathing. And square breathing is where you imagine, and you don't have to close your eyes for this, but if you are in a safe space and not driving a car or operating heavy machinery, you can take yourself away to a quiet place and do this, but it's not necessary. Okay, so you can just visualize a square in your mind, and you can start at any point. But for the sake of this example, let's start at the top left-hand corner. So you breathe in for 4, and you're tracking in your mind the square. So on the 4th inhale breath, or the 4th inhale, you're at that corner. You hold for 4, and you imagine that you're going down for 4 counts on the other plane of the square. You exhale for 4, and then you inhale again for 4. Oh, sorry, you inhale and then, or exhale, and then you hold for 4, and then you're back to the inhale. Inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 4, hold for 4. Okay. And the reason why we do this, and the reason why it's so effective, is because the breath regulates the balance of oxygen and carbon dioxide. Okay. And when you're in a panic, you tend either to hold your breath, or you tend to shallow breathe, like right up in the chest and not down into the lungs. So that whole mix of oxygen and carbon dioxide is all out of whack, right? Which is another reason why you might feel dizzy, etc. Okay, or you're hyperventilating. So that square breath can be done super simply, and it's highly effective because it starts to balance out that oxygen and carbon dioxide. Okay, so that's a good one. Can be done anywhere. And as I said, you don't have to close your eyes. So you can even do it in the middle of a meeting if you're about to have a panic attack. Okay. It's very subtle. No one will know. Number 3 taps into that, and that's mindfulness. And again, this is not like you sitting in a lotus position on a yoga mat, although if that works for you, do it. Okay. Mindfulness is really just about being hyper focused and present in a particular situation, so that your mind, you can, cut through that neural spiral of catastrophizing and anxiety producing thoughts multiplying against each other. Okay. So it can be things like stepping outside and going for a walk in your backyard or down the street or whatever you'd like to do, but really being present with the way you're walking. For example, really feeling your heel touching the floor, and then your toes touching the floor, and then your foot lifting up. So it's about kind of like zooming out of your head and into the body. So it could be something like washing the dishes, and you're really conscious about like the swirl pattern as you're washing it, or stacking the dishwasher if that's what you're doing, looking at the glass, putting it in, just really focusing in on a task, which then brings you out of the brain. Okay. So mindfulness can be sitting on the mat and feeling the breath entering in, and the coolness at the tip of the nostrils, and the exhale and the warmth at the tip of your nostrils. But it literally can be any activity, so long as it's kind of repetitive and you hyper focus on it. Okay. And it interrupts the negative thought patterns. Number 4, exposure therapy. So, similar to this, if someone's got a phobia about something, exposure therapy exposes you a little bit at a time to the thing that's producing your anxiety. So, let's tap back into that fear of going outside example. If you don't, the thought of going to a shopping center sends you into the sweats. If the thought of attending a party or a wedding makes you want to hide under the bed, then start small. Maybe go to your local coffee shop and walk and order a takeaway and then come back. Okay. Or invite 3 friends over for a dinner party. Okay. Or go to the movies with one friend. So exposure therapy is about moving that comfort zone so that you become more and more comfortable and less anxious. So it's not like a band-aid rip. It is a gradual desensitizing of the things that make you anxious. Okay, number 5, physical relaxation. So again, this mind-body connection is very, very intimate and very powerful. Oftentimes, when we are anxious, we tense the body up. Maybe our jaw tenses up. Maybe we clench our jaw. We definitely hold stress, and stress is produced in the body through anxiety in our neck and shoulders, okay, and our head. So, physically relaxing those areas and the whole of your body, in fact, is a really great thing, okay? So it can be exercise, it can be like rapid bursts, it can be walking. But a really good technique that I've used very successfully myself and also with students and people that I've coached is basically a top to toe. So even you can do this in a chair, or you can definitely do it lying down. But I like to give you tools that, have a variety of situational uses. So you can do it in the middle of a meeting, or you could do it if you have the leisure of time by yourself. Okay. But say you're sitting up at a meeting, or, I don't know, in the doctor's surgery and you're getting tense. You press your feet into the floor and you hold it for, between 5 and 10 seconds, whichever feels good to you, and then you can release it. You can do that twice. Then you move up to the thighs. So you like move your knees back and you activate your thighs, hold it for 5 to 10 seconds, release it, repeat. Okay. Then you can do your glutes by squeezing your bottom together. And all of this is very subtle. Nobody's going to be looking at you as if you're doing, the Cirque du Soleil in the middle of the doctor surgery. So you squeezing the butt cheeks, you draw back the stomach muscles that draw back the navel, activate the stomach muscles. You tense the shoulders, you relax them. We do this as a repetition twice for each one. And even the head, you squeeze, you can clench your jaw together and then release, right? And move your eyebrows up a little bit if you want, and then release. So basically, from the toes to the head, now you've relaxed the body. And when you're focusing on that, not only is the body relaxing and you get the physical sensation that you're not tense, your mind has now gone from, oh, I wonder what the doctor's going to say, or I really hate doctor surgeries, or I hope I don't have to get a needle, to focusing on that. So you've done that pattern interrupt again. Okay. Highly effective. And of course, you can do it lying down at your leisure, right? Number 6, technology and digital support. So whilst I'm keeping a close eye on AI and too much digital technology, there are some really good benefits. And one of them is having an app on your phone. The Calm app is a very famous one and a very popular one, but there are plenty of others where you can get meditations, you can get positive affirmations, you can get trackers that have little alarms that sort of say, hey, time to get out, go and get some sunshine. Now say these 3 positive affirmations. So, not everyone can access professional help. And so using these techniques that I've shown you and explained to you are very effective, and then maybe support it with some technology just to get that reminder, that consistency, that habit, that system happening for you. Okay. And finally, professional support. So, 20 years ago, if you said you were going to a therapist, people would, say, woohoo. But now, of course, thankfully, we understand that therapy is very, very beneficial. Okay. And no, it doesn't mean you're crazy. It means that you value yourself enough to live the best life that you possibly can. And sometimes you need someone who is more trained to help you with that. Okay. So, professional support is another really, really effective tool. So there are 7 tools that I've just shown you and explained to you. I've used many of these throughout my time when I felt like I've needed them. And what I love about them is that they're all science backed and proven, but many of them are super simple to do. Okay. So here's my final comments on overcoming anxiety. Anxiety is a state that can be reduced and can be managed through these tools. Just like playing the piano, you wouldn't go to the piano and learn some basic um, chords or notes and then expect to play a concert at a concert hall. It takes some time and practice, and learning to play the piano is a skill, and so is overcoming anxiety. It's probably taken you a certain period of time to become anxious and get into that mode, and it's not going to disappear like a magic bullet, but using these 7 tools will definitely help you to reduce it, and using them is a skill. So I want you to choose one and work on it for 1 or 2 months until it becomes natural, and you can also track it. Like, before you choose this skill, before you choose this tool, rate your anxiety levels, okay? And then after a month, rate it again. And then after 2 months, rate it again, okay? After 2 months, if you're consistent with it, you should be able to see a noticeable improvement and reduction. And then you can choose another tool, okay? So these are for you to chop and change and combine, whichever works for you, okay? So use it as an open experiment, as an investment in the love and the care that you have for yourself, because life is a beautiful thing, and living it to the full is our God-given right, if you believe in God, or your universal right. And living a constricted, frightened life is not what any of us want. So use those tools, choose one, practice it, track it, then add as you see fit. Okay. So I hope that's helpful to you. It has been helpful to me and a lot of people that I've coached and I've taught over the years. So we're all about living full, beautiful lives. And until next time, let's make sure we live the rest of our life as the best of our life. Bye for now.